Hello.
Hello, hello, welcome everyone.
Hello, everybody. I'm on campus. I'm in the library in like a study room right now, so sorry about the mask.
Gotcha.
Is
Oh, did
everybody
they open
doing?
up the study rooms in the library? When I was there last time,
Yeah,
it was still closed.
you have to reserve. Oh shoot, my headphones disconnected. Sorry, one moment.
Oh, well, I can still hear you. Oh, but you may not be able to hear us. Harold, did you have like our standard like intro slides that we were gonna run, or Chris, do you have those slides?
I could try to pull them up, but I think Chris got them.
Are they? Yeah, whenever.
No.
It's fine. No, we can't hear you, Chris.
Oh, we can't see that. You can't even see that he's speaking because he has his mask on.
Yeah. No,
Hello?
we can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now
Yes.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh,
You
okay,
must have
great.
done
I
something.
didn't do anything. It just did it itself. Awesome.
Gotcha. Yeah. Nope. Coming through loud and clear now.
Chris, you've had so many issues with those headphones.
Actually, I just took off one pair of headphones and put on a different pair of headphones. So maybe this is Apple like trying to get me to buy AirPods. I don't know. Let me pull up some of our intro slides. I'm sorry about this.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I get Bluetooth issues with my, or I don't. You probably do. You have wired. I have Bluetooth issues with my Mac all the time. I don't know why.
Yeah, I have Bluetooth ones. So I have two pairs of Bluetooth ones, and the
Yeah,
other one.
my Bluetooth mouse like randomly disconnects, and I tried getting a new one to see if that was, but the new one had the same problem. So I don't know. It may just be a Mac problem.
Hopefully. 1 second. Let me just get these.
Your Bluetooth won't even turn on. Yeah. I mean, oh, Dylan says the link tree is down. What?
What?
I'm on the page.
Wait, let me make sure the one I put in the thing.
No, Dylan, your internet just doesn't work.
Harold, I clicked on your thing and it worked.
Thank you.
Unless he's saying the link doesn't work.
That's all I got here.
Oh, no. All right. Well, yeah, he says, for me, it's still working, but it's probably because it's cached. Linktree is just down right now.
Let me try incognito, actually, if it's because it's cached.
It's probably, yeah. Will this incognito disable the cache? I don't know.
Yeah, if Linktree's down.
Bluetooth mouse. Okay, well, can we get a direct link then? Hold on.
Yeah, or let me.
Direct link off of.
Or is Dylan using like the capital case one, like capital L, capital? Yeah,
I don't think so. Look, he always manages to join our other meetings, so I doubt he would.
yeah. Good point. Good point. Okay. Yeah, I'll just put it copy link address.
I already got it in. Oh wait, this is the director's channel. Hold on.
I got it.
Can you copy paste into announcements or something?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, now you can. This is awesome. So the link tree is working for me.
Yeah, I put a direct link in announcements if anyone's having issues.
They probably just took it down like at 7:30 or whatever. And so it's still working for people who used it before.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
I didn't know Linktree ever went down. I guess it makes sense. They have to do maintenance eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not on purpose.
I don't know. The image Dylan sent said Linktree is currently undergoing maintenance.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
it may not be on purpose.
Wait, Dylan, how'd you get in? Did you get in with direct link or just did you keep on trying?
I sent the direct link.
Oh, okay.
I got in with Linktree.
Yeah, Linktree is like it worked for me. So maybe it just suddenly went down, or it doesn't work for some people. Who knows? Okay, well, it's about 5 after. You want to go ahead and get started, Chris?
Sure, I would love to. Welcome everybody. My name is Chris. I'm the president of Night Hacks. Rob, can you let me screen share, please?
Yes, I can. Let me see. How do I do that? Oh, it's probably under this.
You can make me co-host, or you can like.
Nah, I'll just. Okay, you should be able to do it now.
Okay, cool beans. Let me get up my slides. Sorry, everybody. We've been having some tech issues. Okay, here we go. All right. Can you see my slides?
If they look good over here.
Okay, awesome. Welcome, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm the president of Night Hacks. Thank you for coming to our first Hello World of the semester. Today is going to be a little bit different from our previous workshops that Rob was running. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the general techniques, like some of the things that I wish I had known when I was starting out in CS, because it seems like it feels like you kind of get thrown in, and there were some things that I wish I would have known that would have helped me, I think, to be more successful. And so I'd like to share those things. As well as we're going to be doing a live debugging. So Rob has crafted and lovingly added bugs to a program. And he's giving me this program. I've never seen it before. And he's going to give me some information about what it's supposed to do, but I'm going to take you through the process of like what you should do when you have bugs, you don't know what's going on, like take you through a little bit the problem solving process. So before we begin that, I just want to start with some general slides about what's going on. If you've never been to Night Hacks before, we're UCS Software Development and Hackathon RSO, and we have three weekly workshops on different tech skills, and all of them are beginner friendly, but this is the beginner friendliest one. So we have our 3 workshop series. Our Thursday workshops will be starting up next week. They're every Thursday at 7:30. We're going to start out this semester with an intro to Flutter, but you can see some of our upcoming ones here: intro to Python, what is quantum computing, and how to build an app with the MERN stack, which is if you want to build like a web app, or you can even use that to build like a phone app if you wanted. And if you're interested in running a workshop, if you have a cool tech skill that you want to share, contact Rob. He's on the Discord, or you can email him at robert@nighthacks.org. So Rob also runs this cool workshop series. He started it last semester. It's called Hello World, a workshop series for absolute beginners. Actually, Rob, do you want to quickly just talk about what this workshop series is supposed to be for those people who are new here?
Yeah, for sure. I had a lot of fun with this last semester, and we're hoping to continue that this semester. I know this workshop series is kind of like all the things I wished I would have known, like getting started in computer science, because I know sometimes our Thursday workshops we try to make them always beginner friendly, but there are always some baseline level of things that you need to know. Like if someone's trying to set up a JavaScript project, they need to know how to use NPM. Right. And so that's something that sometimes it's expected that everyone knows, but I know that that's not always something that everyone does know. So Hello World is kind of a workshop series that's meant for, if you feel like you're always lost on Thursdays, or you don't really know anything at all, you have no experience, this is the workshop series for you. So we kind of delved into web development last semester, and we're going to try to recap sort of what we did at our next meeting next week, and then continue on with that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rob. And then the last one I want to mention is our Killing the Coding interview series. So if you're preparing for some interviews for an internship or for a full-time position, this is the series for you. Arjun has been taking people through some of the basic data structures and algorithms that are really, really helpful for when you want to do a tech interview, as well as he's been doing some practice problems with people and helping them there. And of course, he recommends that you do some practice additionally on your own, but this is a great starting point. And it's Saturdays at 2 p.m. Yep. And then I also want to talk about our projects and mentorship program. So projects is we just started this last semester, and we want to give an environment for new programmers to develop their first projects in a team environment, because it can sometimes be daunting to like start out with your own personal projects for the first time. And so being able to work with other people in a team and people are at varying skill levels is really, really helpful, because you can sort of bounce off each other. I think the applications for this are still open if you want to join a projects team, and you can check on our link tree for the link. Yes. And then lastly, our new mentorship program. Yeah, thank you, Harold, for putting the Linktree link in the chat. This is a new program that we just started where we're trying to match up newer students and older students, or even alumni, to try and get mentorship relationships going on. So if you're like a newer student, you might not know where to start. If you're trying to get an internship, or you're trying to get into research or something like that, you might want somebody who's a little bit more experienced as a guide. And so this is an environment where we're trying to provide that. If you're somebody who's a little bit more experienced, mentorship is actually a really sought after skill. And so this is a great environment for you to develop that skill. It's really useful. Like if you ever want to become a product manager, or you want to go into like a management position, like a software development management position, mentorship is a really sought after skill. So again, the links for these are also on the link tree, or you can take a picture of these QR codes. But those are all of the programs that we are doing this semester. We are doing more than we have ever done. So this is very, very exciting time to be part of NightHacks. And of course, we're preparing for our fall 2021 hackathon. So if you're interested in taking on an organizing position for the hackathon, we have on the link tree an interest form that you can fill out to get you onto a team. Or if you're interested in planning also the workshops and things that we do on a daily basis as a club, be sure to fill out that form on the link tree, the organizer team interest form, and you can figure out what area you fit in best. So that's all of the sort of logistical things. Let me stop that share. Oh, here we go. Okay. So again, this workshop is a little bit different from some of our previous workshops. Oh, before I go on, Harold, you wanted to mention the upcoming career fair, right?
Yes, let me go ahead and share my screen. Actually, I'm already co-host. Let's see, basic career Expo services, share. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna put this link. I'll even put this on the link tree too. UCF has their 2-day career expo happening on February 2nd and February 3rd. This is where tons of recruiters come out just to recruit for internships and full-time roles. Obviously, most of you guys will be looking for internships. The reason why we really want to point this out is because tomorrow, if you see right here, they open up meeting reservations. So this is where you reserve your time with a recruiter to talk to them about opportunities. And this is where you're able to pitch yourself, talk about, your resume or you as a candidate. So it's really important that you guys kind of get on this. I'll put this link in the chat and on the link tree. And this has all the instructions to get into register. You have to use like a separate app called like Career Fair Plus. But like I said, this link should have everything about it. And if you need any help with, preparing for this interview prep, resume critiques, we're hoping to roll out some stuff in NightHacks proper, but you can reach out to me or any of the officers, if you need any help with that. We'll definitely do our best to help you because we care for every single one of you guys. And yeah, that should be it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Harold. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yes, the career fair is a really great opportunity. When I was looking for a job, it was really, really helpful because the recruiters that go to this career fair are the ones that you're going to be interfacing with if you get an interview offer. And it's really great to develop a relationship with the recruiters for some of your goal companies. That was really helpful to me when I was applying and getting my dream position. So, all right, let me
interject because thank you, Nathaniel, for bringing this up. I forget that they're two separate things. Yeah, so the internship fair is next Thursday. And I thought it was the same email for both, but yes, there is a separate internship fair. This is the more important one for you guys. And if you look at your night's email, you should be able to see all of that. This is where I got it. When did I get it? I got it like today at 8:20 a.m. It should be there. Same kind of deal. So yeah, that's happening next Thursday. Sorry about that.
Awesome. All right, let me bring up my actual slides. Cool. Let me share my screen. All right, awesome. Can everybody see? Yep, okay. All right, so as I previously mentioned, this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have like two different parts here. And in the first part, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I wish I had known when I was starting out. I feel like there's a lot of kind of assumed knowledge that never gets taught with how to, how to really achieve your goals in computer science. And so there's kind of some key advice that I think is really useful. And then the second part, we'll get into live debugging, which will, I'm excited. But for this talk, there's really three main points that I want to make. And that is, the first is that your classes are really not all encompassing. There's going to be a lot of skills that you're going to need to learn on your own. It's just the nature of our field. Like for instance, in some of my prior internships, I used C++ and TypeScript and JavaScript. And none of those languages were languages that I learned as part of my classes. I had to learn them on my own. And really, I had to learn a lot of stuff to get ready for doing these different projects. So that raises two different things. One is that we need to do our best to gain experience outside of our classes. And I'll talk about what that means. But the second thing that I want to bring up is you don't need to have all of the answers. It's kind of expected, especially in internships, but it's kind of expected that you will not know all about the technology that you're going to end up using to build whatever it is for your job. And actually, it's a lot of internships and full-time positions, the time it takes for you to learn the technology that you're going to be using is built into your internship time. They kind of assume that it's going to take you a couple of weeks to get accustomed to whatever technology that you're using. And I heard from this is kind of anecdotal, but I've heard that at Google, something they say is you really won't feel productive until after your first 6 months. So, if we're needing to learn a bunch of stuff outside, and it's kind of assumed that we won't have all the answers, then what are we learning? And I feel like in computer science, we're really learning how to learn. We're learning techniques that we're going to need to use to be successful in the future when we're dealing with, because this field moves so quickly, new technologies, and also technologies that are unfamiliar to us, and being able to jump around between if you're really familiar with backend, for instance, making server-side software, there's going to come a day probably where you're going to be needing to do front-end work, and you're going to need to apply the techniques that you use to learn all of that back-end stuff to the front-end stuff. And so, our classes, I feel, are really preparing us with the basic principles that you need, and then the process by which you're learning. And then the third point that I really want to make is that we need to not be afraid to ask for help. We need to not be afraid to admit that we don't know things. And it's okay. It's okay to not know things. So if you accept number two, that's part of accepting number three, being able to ask for help. And there are so many bright, intelligent people at this university, your TAs, if you're doing research, your supervisor and the other students, the grad students that are working in your lab, being able to ask for help, and being able to ask for help in a good way, not just saying I'm stuck, but helping your other person to understand your problem is really, really important. So everyone, somebody is sharing their own story. Everyone was lost AF in CS1 today, but a few of us were able to band together and help even though we didn't know it was happening either. Awesome, yes. So it's okay that you were a little bit lost in your class, but it's great that you were able to admit that you were lost, and it's great that you were able to work together as part of a group, and you know, admit that you didn't know what was going on, but ask the people around you who may know what's going on. Thank you so much, Kate, for sharing that. So, all right, so let's go back to number one. Classes are not all encompassing. You need to gain experience from outside of your classes. And, you know, the most obvious answer to this one is, well, I'll get an internship in that case. And so I did some Googling, how to get experience outside of a class. So you want to get an internship. I Googled how to get an internship. And result number 2 was how to get an internship with no experience, which I feel like is a feeling that I felt super hard when I was a freshman, because I'm like, I know nothing, who's gonna want me? But I feel like that this is a sentiment that is really widely shared among starting out computer science students. So let me alter this question a little bit. How do you get an internship with, how do you get experience that is with no experience? Okay. So let's figure out how we can answer this question. So there's kind of a few ways that I think are great ways to get started. And the first one are personal and class projects. And this one, like, this is not my personal favorite. I prefer some of the other techniques to get started. But if you're somebody who likes working independently, this is great. Or if you need like the, you know, you kind of need the pressure of a deadline or something like that, class projects are okay. But it's okay when you're getting started, like you're applying to your first internships, to put like a class project that you worked really hard on in your resume. But I would say, first of all, doing personal projects is a great way to get experience, because you can put them on your resume, and then when you're applying for internships, it makes it so much easier because the recruiter that is looking through your resume can see, oh, well, this person is at least familiar with these technologies, and they had the, you know, the motivation to learn on their own, which is really what recruiters are looking for, is motivation to learn on your own. So if you're, you know, group projects are not for you, personal projects are a great way to learn. I was actually talking about this with Rob though, and something about personal projects is like, sometimes they're just so daunting, like you don't know where to start. Or the other problem is, as Rob put it, you write a bunch of bad code and then you progressively write less bad code, which is kind of funny. So because like you don't know, you just don't know, like you're trying a bunch of things and they're going wrong, and you know there's nobody kind of guiding you. Well, the second option is like group projects, and specifically hackathon projects. And let me talk about the hackathon projects a little bit. So if you've never been to a hackathon, when it's in person, so when we all get that vaccine, then the food and it's all free. There's no cost to go. You get all the free food you could want. You get like a ton of free swag, and also hardware. Like if you're working on a hardware project, there's typically a hardware lab where you can borrow, you know, Oculus goggles, or like Arduino kits or Raspberry Pi, or like gaming laptops. You know, you can borrow that for free. But the other thing that I think really makes this valuable, and something that really helped me when I was starting out, is that you can match up with group members of differing skill levels. And I really encourage you to, like, when you're going to a hackathon, try at least once to not go with a team, and to find people there that you want to work with. Because when I was starting out, like, it was really motivating to be able to complete a project and to contribute to a project, but also it was really motivating to have a team, and like, they kind of know where the pitfalls are. If they're more experienced than you, they kind of know where the pitfalls are. They kind of know what direction to go in. And so matching up with those people and working with them is a really, really great experience, because the only other place that there's only a couple of places where you can work with people more experienced than you, and that's in these kind of group project settings. Open source is another great opportunity to like work with people more experienced than you. But especially like research and internships are a great way to learn from people more experienced than you. And you kind of get to see like, oh, these are the techniques that are standard. Like these are the way, this is like not the right way to do it, but like the standard way that like most software developers would solve this kind of problem. So I think that that's really one of the big values of hackathons, is that you're matching up with people of different skill levels. Another thing is it's time bounded. So with personal projects, it sometimes feels like you're working on them forever. But with hackathon projects, like you have like some time that you have set aside in advance to say like, this is my project time. This is the time that I want to work on this. And if you want to keep working on it afterwards, great, like that's awesome. But I find that like setting aside time, like I struggle to set aside time, I feel, for personal projects, but when I'm going to a hackathon, the time is already set aside for me because I've already said I'm going to spend this time working on a project. And also prizes. Everybody loves prizes. You can win prizes at a hackathon, and that's great. It shouldn't be the main motivation for going, but it's certainly nice to get like a pat on the back in the form of like a Nintendo Switch or an Echo Dot or something. So if you're interested in a hackathon, there's a full list of hackathons coming up. Yeah, thank you, Harold. There's Swamp Hacks is coming up next weekend, which is US Hackathon, and he's just put the link in the chat. And all of the hackathons are on mlh.io. And Arjun is pointing out also that at the career fairs at these events, you get to network with recruiters again. And you can talk about the project that you're working on, which is super cool. Because if you can impress the recruiter with the project you're working on, that's really great. And they will remember you. And when they see your resume, you might get fast tracked to an interview. So hackathons are really, really great ways to get hired if you're looking to get an internship or full-time position. So then, you know, you've got like some personal projects, you've got a little bit of experience, but you're still feeling like internships are too advanced. Well, that's okay. There are introductory internships set aside specifically for freshmen and sophomores. And they only recruit freshmen and sophomores for these specific positions. So you might still feel though like, oh, well, they're recruiting freshmen and sophomores that are like way more advanced than me. Like they're recruiting freshmen and sophomores that have been like programming since they were in middle school. That's really not the case. So the programs I've listed here, Microsoft Explorer, Facebook University, Google Step, are like, actually they only recruit freshmen and sophomores. Lockheed Martin CWEP does recruit juniors and seniors, but I mentioned this because they recruit a lot of freshmen and sophomores for CS at least. I talked to a recruiter from Microsoft about the Microsoft Explorer program, and I kind of mentioned this, and they said that the only prerequisites for a position in the Microsoft Explorer program is one, you must have taken Calculus 1. You must have passed Calculus 1. And two, you must have taken any programming class, any programming class. It can be Intro to C, can be the new, I think they have like a Python class, it's introductory, any programming class that you want. As long as you passed it, congratulations, you have met the minimum requirement to be considered for the Microsoft Explorer program. And I believe that the other programs work in a similar way. But I wanted to bring these up because they tend to have less spots than the full internship programs. So it's really important to get your applications into these different opportunities, at least for the Microsoft Explorer, the Facebook University, and Google Step programs, as early as possible. So if you're a freshman, like you kind of already want to have applied, but if it's, you know, if this is too late, that's okay. You'll be a sophomore next year. Get your application in as soon as possible. Take the time now. Do a couple of hackathon projects, do some personal projects, get some experience outside of your classes, learn some of the technologies that are not being used in like your Intro to C class, and you know, try out for one of these internships, and you may get it. But these are really, really great opportunities to get started in internships. The Lockheed Martin program is slightly different. That you have to apply through the Career Services Office. It's only for UCF, but I got a position there when I was a freshman, like at the end of the year. And I, you know, talked to my manager, and like one of the reasons they looked at my resume was because I had listed some personal projects that I did at a hackathon. So it's really like personal projects are really great, like gateway into kind of getting your first internship. And once you're there, you can kind of start going for like what it is that like what your goal sort of job or what your goal opportunity is. So, you know, it's not all like just internships. You can also try research, and research has some specific advantages. And I personally really enjoyed my time doing research. So one thing is that if you're doing a research position, you're working with a professor, so they can give you recommendation letters. If you're interested in doing grad school, for instance, this is very, very important, is that you have a couple of recommendation letters. And there's kind of a trope among, or not a trope, but like like there's kind of this knowledge in grad school admissions that like there's like standard sort of recommendation letters, like, oh, this person was in my class and they did great and they got an A. And like, if you're in a class with like 400 people and the professor really doesn't know you, that's kind of the only letter that they can really write, is like speaking to whatever you did in the course. But if you do research with a professor, you're getting a lot of individual attention from that professor, and they're going to be able to write you a very specific recommendation letter that hopefully gets you into whatever opportunity, if it's grad school, if it's a scholarship, that you are trying to go for. And they're interested to see you succeed. They're interested to help you as best as they can to get you into the opportunity that you're trying out for, if you're like doing a PhD program, for instance. The second advantage is the possibility of publications. This is really cool because you can put a publication on your resume. It takes like a year to get a publication, but you can put it on your resume, and then like somebody, if you're going for grad school admissions, or if you're doing an internship, you can point to like, hey, here's this, paper that details very clearly what this project was that I did in all of this glorious detail. And the other cool thing is that you can actually do travel to present your publication. So for instance, I published a paper in an IEEE conference, and the conference was in Shanghai, and I won a travel grant, and I got to go to Shanghai for free. And it was really, really fun. I had a great time presenting. I learned a lot at the conference, but also they did not check when I booked my outgoing flight for. So I booked it for a month in advance, and I just did Mandarin lessons, and just had fun for a month before the conference started, on my own money, of course. And then once the conference started, it was down to business, and also they paid for that and my return flight. So there's a possibility of that, a big advantage to research. And the third thing is that research is usually paid, at least in engineering. But it is a little bit less straightforward to get a research position versus getting an internship. An internship, you apply online and you wait to hear back, and that's kind of it. Research is this very weird thing where these positions exist, but you find out about them sort of randomly by the advice that I was given is just look at some of the professor's papers and see which ones you're interested in, and cold email the professor, which is very, very daunting and was not as helpful to freshman year me as I would have liked. Great question, Sophie. I'm about to tell you all about it, where we should look for research opportunities. So there are a couple of places that you can look, or a couple of ways that you can get into a research position on this slide called How Do You Get Into Research? The first, and the way that I highly recommend, is called, it's the National Science Foundation Research Experience for Undergraduates program. This is a really, really excellent program. If you just Google NSF-REU, or NSF Research Experience for Undergraduates, the top result or the second result should be a page for the NSF with a full listing of all of the different research experience for undergraduates positions in the nation. These are 10-week summer programs. Thank you, Victoria, for posting that. These are 10-week, about 10 week. They're summer long research programs, and they're funded by the NSF. And you are getting paid to do research for a professor somewhere. And I did the program at UCF, but there are programs all over the place. My previous roommate did an REU at Carnegie Mellon, and he had a really great time. And also they usually, I think almost all of them pay for your travel there. So they pay for your travel, they pay for your housing, and they also give you a stipend. Some of them even give you a meal plan if you want it. So all of the benefits are specific to each program. But you should make sure to apply to, you should make sure, first of all, to prepare in advance for the application, because you do typically have to write a cover letter with your application. And then the second thing is you should try to apply to as many as possible that are within your interest area, because each program, unlike Microsoft that hires thousands of interns or Google or whatever, each program only has about 10 spots each summer. So in order to maximize your chances of getting an offer from one of your choice programs, you should apply to as many that you would be interested in going to and interested in working with as possible, so that the more spots, the greater chance that you would get an offer. So first best way is this program, NSF Research Experience for Undergraduates. And also, like, most professors know what this program is if you go to grad school. So it's really helpful. Second, Office of Undergraduate Research is pretty helpful. They have their own like job board almost, where you can go on and you can like search for opportunities. It's like sometimes really updated, like professors will send a lot of opportunities. I'm not sure how well known it is to professors that they can do this, but this is another opportunity, although you do have to meet with an advisor from the Office of Undergraduate Research first, and they're going to give you a bunch of advice on how to get a research position. But that's another way that you can get a research position. If you're in the Honors College, maybe you can do this if you're outside of the Honors College, I'm not sure, but there's a new Research Match Day program. So you can basically like meet a bunch of professors from that are like recruiting undergraduates actively, and you can find a research position that is applicable to you. Thank you to everybody who's putting the links in the chat. This is great. Another way that like I found about research is like just keeping an eye on email lists. Like the college will like send out opportunities. The Honors College sends out like a really long email each week with like a ton of opportunities on it. So that's another way you can find out about research. Like sometimes professors will just put like paper ads for positions on bulletin boards in places. So just keeping an eye out is another great way. Another way is to engage with your professor when you're in a class. I've had a professor who was like, oh, you know a lot about this topic, and like I'm trying to do research in it, and like would you be interested in doing research, like helping me out in this way? So getting a good relationship with your professors is really helpful. Going to their office hours, reading some of their papers is really good. Like if you have interest in like a particular professor's area, of course they'd love to talk about their work. So like read one of their papers and come with questions to their office hours and like talk to them about it, and they'd be happy to answer your questions, and you'll learn more. And then the last way is like cold emailing, and this is like my least recommended way, but like it does work for people. And you can say like, you can email a professor's lab and say like, I saw your research here, like I looked at your faculty webpage and I saw your research and it's interesting to me because of this, this, and this. And do you have any spots for undergraduates in your lab? So these are ways to get into research. It is a little bit more weird than going for a regular internship position. So those are all different ways that you can get experience outside of the classroom. First of all, personal projects, really, really helpful. Think of some, like maybe a framework that you want to learn, or if you just have a project idea already, those are really great. And working in a group is great too. Hackathon projects, really awesome. You get to work in a group, you get to work with people at varying experience levels. Some of these introductory internships are really great. And also, like, you can apply as a freshman to regular internship experiences. Don't feel like you just have to apply to ones that say specifically, we are looking for freshmen and sophomores. Some of them will only be looking for juniors, and that's kind of a problem where a lot of, it seems like a lot of recruiters are like specifically recruiting for juniors so that they can convert them to like full-time employees afterwards, after their internship. But you can still apply for a lot. Like I've worked in like people who are regular interns who are like sophomores, and they just applied for whatever position and they got it. So, just apply. It doesn't hurt you. Make sure you have a good resume. You can ask us for advice, or you can go through the Career Services Office, also proofreads resumes. But yeah, and Henry points out, I got turned down a lot for being a sophomore, but it's super useful to just get used to applying and refining your resume. Absolutely. Every failed interview is a learning experience. Like if you fail an interview, like they're not going to be like, oh, I remember you from last year when you apply again. It will help you to get better at your next interview. Awesome. Okay, so those are all of the ways that you can get experience. And of course, research. Those are all the ways that you can get experience outside of the classroom, which I think is really essential to being successful in computer science. It will help you not only in your career, but it will help you a lot in your other classes. When it comes time to do your processes of object-oriented development class, and you're like, oh no, we have to build a contact manager, and like it has to have a backend and stuff like that. If you've already done some of that work before, it's not really, it doesn't seem that hard anymore. Or when you're doing senior project and you're like, oh no, we have to make this like super complicated app, you know, coming in with some experience about how, like, what are kind of the patterns that people use to build some of these types of applications is really, really, really helpful. Okay, so the change in color scheme indicates a change in mood. It is okay to not know what you were doing. I just want to make that point. It is okay to not know what you were doing. However, I think a huge part of computer science is you're learning how to learn. So when you don't know what you're doing, what do you do? What do you do when you don't know what you're doing? And so my first piece of advice is make sure to read the documentation. A lot of people do not read the documentation. It's free. It's available to you. Read the documentation. The second point I want to make is Stack Overflow is a really great resource if you know how to use it. The third point is there's lots of tutorials and articles, and of course Coursera courses for if you like want to get some background in something. Like these probably won't solve your specific problem, but these will give you a lot of background if you feel like that the problem you're having is a result of not having enough background knowledge or not having enough like broad knowledge of a topic. Like you're working on a JavaScript application and like this is your first time using JavaScript or TypeScript or whatever, take some time to do a Coursera course or do a couple of tutorials. It'll be really helpful and you'll get some of the background knowledge that might be holding you back. And of course, the last point I want to make is asking for help. So if you've never read documentation before, and I think like you don't learn how to read documentation. No class teaches you explicitly how to read documentation, but it is an essential skill. So in order to, if you've never read the documentation before, like it's sort of new to you, they all kind of have the same pattern. The documentation is really the instruction manual for the language or the tool or framework that you're using. So kind of the basic layout is each tool or function has its own like page or its own section, and the documentation will tell you the purpose of the function, its inputs and its outputs, and will typically give you example usage. So I looked up some documentation to like show how this pattern is like in like really simple stuff, but also in very complicated stuff, how this pattern still holds. And so if you know how to read documentation, it's typically written in this pattern. So very easy. The concat method in JavaScript. And you can see here that like right at the top of the page, they put the explanation for the function's purpose, which is the concat method concatenates the string arguments to the calling string and returns a new string. So which means if you put in multiple strings into this function, it will make them all together and then it will give you that string. So then you have an example usage here where you have these like a sample like function written out and how you would use it in your code. And then it tells you a description of the parameters from that example usage. So you have this str2, and then you have like a number of strings that you can add. Like this function will accept any number of string parameters. And it's telling you what's happening here. So it's strings to concatenate to str. So we have str here. So we are adding str, str2, str3, str4, up to strn. And then you can see here the return value is a new string containing the combined text of the strings. So even in more complicated stuff, this pattern will still hold. And sorry, Rob just made a good point that some IDEs that is your editor that you're using to edit code will actually show official documentation when you hover over a function or an object. That is also a great point. And so when you're in the code and you're kind of lost, you can open your IDE may give you some help there too. So here's an example of like more complicated, but you can still see the pattern is holding, and it's really not important to understand like what is happening here. I just wanted to show that in a more complicated example, still the documentation sort of follows the same pattern. And if you're curious, this is from Expo, which is an API for React Native. And this is talking about if you want to record or play audio in your app, your React Native app, how would one go about that? And so it's giving some example usage for this specific function. And so you can see like it's giving a short description of what the purpose of the function is. And then it's giving the arguments for that function and the options for that argument. So it's saying value here is a Boolean, which means true or false. And it's saying, what does it mean if you pass in true or you pass in false? Well, true enables audio and false disables it. And then you're also getting like what is given back to you, the return value, which is a promise. If you don't know what a promise is, don't worry. That will reject if audio playback could not be enabled for the device. So pretty much it is giving back to you the success or not success of you enabling audio on the device. So I just, yeah. If you don't know what a promise is, look it up. Look it up in the documentation. Great point, Rob. The point I want to make is that a lot of documentation will follow this pattern. And so if you're confused about something specific, like you're confused about like a function is not working, and you can narrow it down to like one specific function that is not working, or one specific part, or one specific like code pattern, you want to narrow down like where it is in your code that's not working. And you want to be able to like first stop, look it up in documentation. Okay, you looked it up in the documentation and it doesn't fix the problem. Okay, this happens a lot because this is really hard. And there is a lot of like ambiguity. And so there are a lot of ways that you can encounter problems. But the other thing is that there's a lot of experienced developers in the world, and we're all trying to solve similar problems. So that means that probably somebody has already encountered the issue. And wouldn't it be nice if you could like get into the head of that person that has already encountered your issue? Well, you can, and it is called Stack Overflow. And so, yeah, try Stack Overflow. There we go. Stack Overflow, if you've never used it before, is like a question and answer site for coding. And so you can ask a question and you can get some answers, and there's upvoting and downvoting like similar to Reddit. So first off, if you have something that is ambiguous, you can't figure it out from looking at documentation or from looking at existing code, you want to try and search Stack Overflow first to see if the question has already been asked, because chances are it has. So make sure that when you're looking at questions, you look for questions that mention the specific technology that you're using. Lots of languages have an str-concat function, have a string concatenation function. And you want to make sure that you're reading a question that is specifically for the the usage that you're using. Make sure also that you're understanding the answer. A lot of people will look up a Stack Overflow question and then find a question that looks like it's theirs, and then they'll go to the answer and they'll copy and paste the code in and see if it works. This is a really bad way of doing it. Also, Rob pointed out, this could potentially violate copyright depending on the licensing of the answer. So make sure that you understand what is going on in the answer. Don't just copy and paste code. Although you can copy and paste a snippet. If you know what a command is doing, instead of typing it out, I have definitely copy and pasted a command from Stack Overflow into my terminal before. But you want to make sure that you really understand what's going on so that the next time you encounter it, you can not consult Stack Overflow for the issue. And more importantly, if somebody asks you about it, you can provide the answer that you learned. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that oftentimes there are several correct and applicable answers. So it's helpful to continue scrolling down when you see the answer, and like check the next couple of answers, because they might have different ways to do it that you might find are better than like the most voted or accepted answer. So make sure you, and also it's like you can kind of weigh the pros and cons of different approaches. So you checked Stack Overflow and it's not on there, and you want to ask a question. So great. Well, so first you've already searched to see if your question has been asked. Secondly, Stack Overflow is not a place where other people debug your code. So you want to be specific and descriptive about your problem. And you want to say what you have tried. A lot of times question answerers will like it if it, first of all, it shows that you've made an effort to solve the problem, but also it means that like they know, oh, I shouldn't try this too because it didn't work. So you're being specific and descriptive about the problem that you are experiencing. You also want to provide a minimal working example, which is take some code that like illustrates the concept that you're struggling with, and like maybe change the variable names and stuff like that, so it's not clear like what context it's supposed to be working in. But provide a few lines of code that illustrates the, you know, the usage of the function or something like that, so somebody can see what you're trying to do. Another thing I want to point out is you should be patient. It might take a little while for somebody to answer, or then somebody give you a good answer. And also, remember that like it's not just like an answer coming out of like the internet, you know, void. There's another human being that took the time to write your answer that may help you. So make sure, like, first of all, like, be respectful by trying to reduce their time as much as possible by trying things in advance, Googling in advance. Like Stack Overflow should not be the first resource that you use, or asking a question that is on Stack Overflow should not be the first thing that you do. You should try as much as possible to try and solve the problem yourself. And you should also be as specific as possible without writing a novel about your problem. And you should provide a minimum working example, because if you don't, the person on the other end has to spend more time answering your question. And this also means that if somebody provides you a good answer, make sure like you accept it as the accepted answer, and like do the things, the Stack Overflow things, so that they get the Stack Overflow points that make them happy as an internet user. So that's kind of the lowdown on Stack Overflow. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat a little bit. Oh, Rob points out, thank you. It is a human being on the other end, so it may not be right either. So make sure that you check to make sure that the answer is not like bad, and that you know, it's agreed upon. Usually those answers will get downloaded, so you know, you can check the score and see if it's a bad answer usually, and like angry internet users will point out that it's a bad answer. Yeah, usually commenter will point out it is a bad answer, but just be aware that like it could be a bad answer. Yeah, Arjun is right. You don't want to rely on Stack Overflow 5 minutes before the project is due, but it is a really essential resource. It has gotten me out of a lot of jams. So definitely knowing how to use Stack Overflow is great. Knowing how to Google is really great. So searching the documentation, searching Stack Overflow, like these are two essential skills that I feel like they don't really teach in our classes. But knowing how to like get a ton of information like from the internet, and like reading through all of that information and sorting out the good from the bad is really, really essential. And also Kate points out having smart friends. Yes, that is great. Okay. So some questions are hard or require an extensive background into your problem. Like in research, a lot of the time this comes up, or like if you're working on a project. So again, like I mentioned, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not know what you're doing. You need to admit that to yourself so that you can get on to the next step, which is asking for help. So make sure to ask for help from your friends, your TAs, your professor during office hours, or if you're in a work environment, like your more experienced colleagues. And this is something that I really struggled with especially when I was working, was I didn't want people to like realize I didn't know what I was doing. And also I felt like I got like my internship by mistake. Like I was certain that like, and this is like a thing, it's called imposter syndrome, but I was certain that like it was a mistake, and like they were going to realize at any moment that I was a terrible programmer and they were going to kick me out. And of course, this isn't true, but a lot of people feel this way. And so I wanted to make sure that I could give them as little reason as possible to realize that I was a terrible programmer and kicking me out. And I thought, oh, well, I should just not ask as many questions, because if I should try to make it look like I know what I'm doing. This is not the mindset to have. I regret having this mindset. The quicker that you can ask a question, like as long as it's like you made an effort to answer the question on your own and you realize like, this is what I tried, it didn't work. And you can like clearly express your question to a more senior colleague, they will not have a problem with spending a couple minutes of their life to help you not spend 2 hours of your life on the problem. Definitely reach out, like, don't be afraid. Don't feel like you're gonna get in trouble or like you're stupid or something for not knowing the answer. Reach out to your more experienced friends and in the work environment, your more experienced colleagues and coworkers to help you, because it is really, really essential. Like your manager is not gonna care that you like messaged another coworker to try and get a problem solved, but they are gonna care if like you aren't able to do the thing because you won't ask for help. So ask for help, don't be afraid. And that is all of the things that I wish that I knew when I was starting out. So now I think we have time for our live debugging. I'm really excited about this. Let me stop the screen share. So I'll let Rob.
I'll put the link in the chat. I haven't even given him like the link to this, so.
I have no idea what this is going to be.
If you want to just clone this and go along with him, you totally can. It was painful. I had to like write a good program and then add bugs to it. And
wait, so why is somebody holding up a thing that says help in front of their camera? Duilo, are you okay?
Yeah, okay, just playing.
Oh, okay. All right, awesome. I was like terrified that we had like a hostage situation or something. Okay, great. All right, cool. So let me clone this repo. Are you sure you're okay? Like that was a joke, right?
Yeah, I was sorry, I was playing.
Okay, all right, cool. Please don't do that in the future. I was like, this is like how the start of a murder movie starts. Yeah,
you know the video on Reddit that somebody got abducted on a Zoom call in the middle of their class as a joke?
Oh,
yeah,
that's really not fun.
I don't think that's funny. Like somebody's gonna call 911.
But that's the worst thing is though, like if I call 911 and they say, what's the emergency? I have no idea who you are or like where you live. Like I know who some of you are, but I don't know where you live. I don't know like how to tell them that like there's an emergency. Yes, cybercrime.
Well, technically, you know where 3 of us live from the whole pizza thing, don't you?
That's true. That's true. I guess I could look in the swag if you ordered a t-shirt. Night hacks. I could look at our swag list. But yeah, I thought about that. That's pretty not bad, or pretty not good. Sorry, let me share my screen again so that you can see my process for this. Let me just close out of some other applications that don't need to be open. 1 second. Apologize. Okay, and here we are. So let me share. Okay, here we go. So I have never seen this before. Rob is sharing this with me for the first time. This is some code that Rob wrote, and he lovingly put some bugs in this is designed. I don't actually even know barely what this is supposed to do. So let's read the description first. All right. So this program is a simple piece of software designed for managing a hotel. This particular hotel has 17 rooms, each of which can hold 1 guest. The hotel and guests are represented with the hotel and guest structs. The program should print a summary of all occupied room numbers and the name of the guest in those rooms. Then it should prompt the user to select 1 of 4 options. Check in. This option should prompt the user for guest details and a room number and then add a new guest to the given room. It can be assumed that a valid name and 10-digit phone number are given for the purposes of this program. Okay, so there's not going to be like, and that makes sense. Check out. This option should prompt the user for a room number and then remove the guest in the given room. Guest info. This option should prompt for a room number and then print the name and phone number of the guest in that room. Exit, save the current hotel data to the hotel.txt and exit. Okay, cool. Problems, the code does not compile. Great, great start. When viewing certain phone numbers with the option guest info, the phone numbers are not displayed correctly. Furthermore, after exiting, these wrong phone numbers are stored instead of the correct ones. Okay. The checkout option does not seem to work at all. It should remove the person in the given room number from the hotel so they are not printed in the next prompt. Okay, so Rob has given me some starting points for, he's programmed in 3 problems. I have a description of the program. Let me pull down this code and get started. So let me open up the terminal. And then I'm just gonna do this in my home directory. Oops, nope. Okay. So I already copied the URL. So I'm just gonna clone this in to here. If you don't know, git clone, it just pulls down the, it just pulls down the data from GitHub or from wherever your remote repository is stored. And that was given to me as a link. All right, so it's been cloned into debugging demo. So I'm gonna cd change directory into debugging demo. And then I'm gonna list what the files are. Okay, so I have these 4 files, and I guess I could have just looked there. So let me open this up in the editor. And it looks like Visual Studio Code updated, so Mac needs to do a bunch of cool stuff to make sure I'm not getting hacked. It's very slow. Okay, this is not that. So let me open up a new folder. Eventually. Sorry, it's being a little slow today. All right. Come on. And then I pull this into debugging demo. Let me open this up. I feel like this is like the coding version of Bob Ross a little bit. All right, the language is C, correct. So this is another thing is Rob has written this in C and I have not used C in quite a while. So I'm hoping that this will actually represent me not knowing what I'm doing a little bit better. Yeah, all right, so let's open this up. Cool, so, and then, okay. Awesome. So we have these defined. And then he's made his own like data type. Or no, this is, yeah, he has. Okay, so he's defined that here. And it has a name and it has a max of 20 characters in the name. And he has made a phone number, which he's storing as an int. I'm just trying to get a feel for the code a little bit. And then he has, okay, there's a hotel and the hotel is made up of many guests. This is an array of guests that are in the hotel. And there's a size of the hotel. And I guess it should be this. And that's the hotel. Okay. And then the guests are getting ready and let's see what this looks like. Okay, so it looks like we provide a number of people that are coming in and then we provide, yeah, the name. Okay, great. And their phone number. And what should that 3rd one be? We'll find out. Oh, room number. Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's try compiling this. He gave us some helpful information on how to compile this. Simply run with gcc main c and a.out. All right. So thanks, Rob, for giving us those instructions. So let's try it out. Maybe it's hanging because I have a.out. So let me just compile it, actually. Make sure that that's not the issue. I hope that it's just my computer is taking a long time and not anything else.
Yeah, this is not the intended bug.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like it's doing something. It just, okay, it's doing something now. It's just being very slow. I apologize. Okay, there we go. Hooray. One error generated. Okay, so awesome. Let's figure out what this is. So this must be problem one. The program doesn't compile. Well, let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. So the error here, this is really helpful. It's giving us the line number and also the character number on that line. So it is a problem on line 57. And then what is the error? It is expected a semicolon in the for statement specifier. Okay, so it looks like Rob made a typo here. So let's go to line 57 and solve this problem. Okay, yeah, all right. So yes, and even our IDE is helping us out here. So we'll just add in that semicolon and then save it. And let's go back to our terminal and run again, or compile again and see if it works. Okay, so it compiled, wonderful. So now let's try running this program and seeing what happens. Okay, so this is who's currently there. So if I want to check in a guest, all right, who wants to be my guest? Let's see. Sure. Okay, Nathaniel is the first person that I saw. Arjun also points out that it is helpful to have a linter for the language. Yes, that is true. So Nathaniel, okay, I hope I spelled your name correctly. Okay, that's the guest name and the guest phone number. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, because I don't want to your phone number, and we'll put you in room 15. Okay, so well that worked. All right. So Nathaniel, let me try guest info, which room? 15. And it is Nathaniel. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Okay. And I'm just going to try checking out a guest. So let's try checking out Rob because he's making me debug his program. So he's no longer welcome in this hotel. So that will be room 2. And a room already empty. Rob, how do I get you to check out? Okay, so Rob's the guest that won't leave. So let's figure out what's going on. And I think he mentioned this as a problem. Let's see. Yeah, let me just refresh on what the problems are. So when the checkout option doesn't seem to work at all. Okay, that makes sense. It should remove the person in the given room number. Okay. And then when reading certain phone numbers with the option guest info, the phone numbers are not displayed correctly. Furthermore, after exiting, these wrong phone numbers are stored instead of the correct ones. You said, Rob, that we're assuming that they're only entering digits for the phone number, right? Or
Yeah,
can
don't
they?
worry about the input specification. There's no validation on that. And that is a problem. If you do write software, make sure you validate your inputs, but that's not a problem for this program.
Okay, all right. Okay, when viewing certain phone numbers with the option guest info. So I didn't see that for Nathaniel. Let me try some of the other users. And you said the phone numbers are not displayed correctly. So I'll get guest info on Rob. And it's 126-058-8259. And is that correct? No. Okay. So there's clearly a problem here because Rob's phone number is supposed to be 5555555. So, but again, let's do guest info, and I'll try me. So 128, and mine should be a 987 number. Okay, so we clearly have a problem. Let's see, but let's see if there's a pattern. Actually, I'm curious. So 987. Is it just a random number that it's putting out? It's 128660. Is that a number on this list? 112. No, it's not. So it's not I don't think it's an array issue. Because Rob should be 555 and it's giving 126. which is not on the list. Okay, so let's see what's happening here. So read guests. All right. So we're reading in file pointer. We're getting, okay. Ah, okay. No. So let's see. So that's reading in, and that's running. Let's see what the main function is doing actually, because there's a lot going on here. So main, so we make a hotel, and then the room numbers are set to null. Okay. There's a pointer to the room numbers array. Okay. And then we're calling the read guest function. Okay. I think we said the room number was not. Hopefully, I think that's not the problem. Okay, and this is just our case statement. So this is just running the, so the error is probably not in here because this is just, check in guests length minus, okay, no. So let's see about, because it was reading from the file. So let me exit out. And I don't want it to write back to the file. I want the file to be left the same. So I'm sorry, Nathaniel, you're going to be removed. So I'm just going to do Control-C. I'm going to run this again so that we get the same state that we started with. And let me see, guest info. Is it only the? Okay, so it's every time, and it's from the program start time. So let's see if it's a problem with it's getting read in from the file. So, okay. So it might be from this issue, from this read guests function, I'm guessing. So yeah, let's go back here. Fscan F. Oh, okay, this is getting the length because remember the first part of the file was like a number. And okay, so this is the number. Okay, and then we're making an array of guests times the hotel size. And this is always 17. And RMS out. Okay, so let's just see if it's getting the room number at all. So, or the phone number at all. So I'm just gonna, after this happens, I'm just gonna do a printf. And then I'm just gonna say room number. Oh, I have to, nope, I have to, sorry, this is C. I have to do percent D, and then I have to put in the room number. then I have to probably I have to do that, I think. Okay. So let's see if that works. And if I can get, oh, 8. Okay, so I was wrong, sorry. Oh, because it's I want the phone number, sorry. I don't know why I put ring number. Identifier, phone, oh, phone. Oops. There we go, okay. So let's recompile, okay. Okay, so the problem is when the phone number is getting read in, because this is 126, and that's not on the list because it should be 555. So the problem is when the phone number is getting read in, it's getting read in wrong. Okay, so I think then it's because the name, I think it's reading 20 characters, regardless of if the name is actually 20 characters. Yeah, let's try that. And then the code is %f, s, and then name, c. Rob, Chris, nope, that's not it. Is there? Then it would be, I guess all of it would be wrong if it were that. Okay. I don't know what this RMS out is. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's a data type he's defined. Okay, so it's not that the name is being read wrong, I don't think. And then str, nothing. So we're reading in, this is a string and it's being read in as name. And we're reading from this file pointer. And it should only be reading, so this is reading the string part. It's name. We're putting name from the file pointer. This is reading the part.
Hey, Chris.
This is also reading it. Yeah?
Why don't you try checking the guest info of the other phone numbers?
Okay. Oh, yours is a negative number. Oh, is it because it is reading it? Let's see. 1, 3, 5, 1, 2. That's not it. Why is yours a negative number? I don't think any of these are right. 1, 2. Oh, so Melanie's is right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Is Abraham right? Abraham 1, 1, 2. So it's only, so what's the difference? Okay, so Dylan's is wrong, I think. 1, 3, 5. Dylan's is right. Harold is wrong. 4, 2, 4, 2. Okay. Yeah, Harold's is wrong. Harold's is wrong. I'm wrong. Yeah, and Rob's wrong. So it's only the first 3. Oh, okay. I feel like I should. Let's see. Okay, so for some reason, and the only thing, is it the number of characters, I wonder? Oh, because Rob's too short. That's what no, because these are all the, is it related to the spacing here? Because Rob has one space and, oh, this is a tab, I see.
Someone in the chat actually got it, Chris. If you want to open the chat, up to you.
Oh, okay. Integer overflow. Okay. Of course. Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's really okay. I feel so silly. All right, let's fix that. So we could do it. There's no reason why this should be int. It really ought to be a string, I think. Yeah. So could I explain what integer overflow is? Yes, I can. And integer overflow is when, so you were actually storing the integer in a base 2 binary representation. So like 0 is 0, 1 is 1, but 2 is 1 0, and 3 is 1 1. And so the memory only allocates a certain number of bits to the integer. I think integers, like it depends, but it's 32 bits, I'm pretty sure. And so you are making numbers that are too big to be represented in 32 bits of space. So what happens is it wraps around to be negative numbers. That makes so much sense. So there's a couple of ways that we can solve this. We can make them longs. It's probably just the easiest way. We can make them into longs, and then we don't really need to change anything else going above that. Yeah, so phone numbers are too big to be stored as ints. Yes, or we can store them as strings. So, so char arrays, and then we have a string length, and we know like, oh, phone numbers are never bigger than 20, for instance. So I guess that's something we can do. Let's do that. Phone, and then that should be strlen. Okay. And then we go down here, and this should be, and phone should be also a char, and then it should be strlen. And then what is this? Okay. And then we have here, this needs to be an S then, if we're storing it as a string. And then this is complaining because we're trying to assign, we have to use this strcpy function. We need to treat the phone number as the same way as the name. So let's do that. So strcpy guests I dot phone, and we should be, so what's happening here is this is doing a string copy. Before we were just saying like the phone number of the guest is equal to phone number, but strings are actually stored as pointers. This is actually pointing to like a number, an address in memory. And so we need to call a function that actually transfers that. And so that I think should fix it. Let's see. And let's quit. And okay, so this breaks a couple of other things, which is fine. So format specifies, this is on 41. Yes, that makes sense. Argument has type char star 20. Okay, so here phone, and phone is being defined here. And name, oh, this is already a pointer. So we don't want to dereference it, I don't think. Oh, okay, cool. And we're assigning it here. So fscan f, oh, because I didn't recompile. I don't think, or save. Yeah. So we've produced, oops, here we are. These are the warnings. So 103, array type char20 is not assignable. It's the same thing. We need to use strcpy, string copy. So let's go to 103. Yep. So we need to follow the same pattern that we did above. And also, this is no longer an int for phone number. And then we need to change this scanf here. It needs to be treated the same. Let's see where else issues are. So there's 2 warnings. Format specifies type int, but the argument has type char star. This is printf. This is on 142. Okay, because this, it's expecting a number and not a string. So we just can make this an S. I think that should fix it for print guest. Yeah. Okay. And then, so what's our last error on 177? It's the same issue. This should be %S. So it's on 177. And we have, this refers to this one. And then this is a tab. And then this is a %D. And then we want that to be %S. So that is a string. Okay. And it compiles. Okay, good first step. Let's see if we can get it to run. And if it experiences the same issue. So let's try guest info, which room 5, and 98765432210. That should be correct. Yes, okay. So it appears that we have fixed that issue. Thank you for the hint. I really appreciate that. I haven't used C in a while, and I forgot that was a. I mean, this exists in other
the value of asking other people. You know, sometimes if you're stuck on an issue, it can be something silly that you actually know, but for some reason it's just not clicking with you, you know, that particular day. So it's good to run your problems by other people, just because they might just be like, hey, this happened to me just yesterday or whatever, and they'll know.
Yes, awesome. This is a great point. And also, sometimes just walking away and coming back to it, you might figure out the issue. Okay, let's see what the second issue is. Checkout option doesn't seem to work at all. It should remove the person when the given number from the hotel so they are not printed in the next prompt. Checkout option is not working at all. And what happens when we try that? So to check out, we can check out Rob, and the room already empty. Okay, so it's not removing Rob because it thinks the room is already empty. Let's go see what the issue is. So when we enter 2, let's just trace from the main function here. When we enter 2, checkout, what happens? So this is the switch block. This is with our choice. And then case 1. So we want case 2, and the checkout and the room prompt. Okay. So we're passing in the hotel and a room prompt, and based on that, we're getting this, but this is not working. So let's see. And the room prompt, this probably works because it works for other things. Yeah. So let's see in the checkout function. Okay. If the room number is greater than return 2. Okay, and this is helpful. 0 successful, 1 if room already unoccupied, 2 if room doesn't exist. So for some reason, it's calling 1 when it shouldn't. If the hotel occupant's room number is null. Okay. So we're passing in this room number. Let's see, let's just make sure that the room number is correct that we're getting. That's the first thing. And so, because my original thought is, oh, maybe it's setting the room to null and then saying, but that's happening here. So it's not that, it's in sequence. So let's see what we get when we just, I think we can print guest. Yeah, print guest. So let's see what happens when we try here, print guest, and just to see what this value is. If it, okay. So let me recompile. Oh, implicit declaration of, oh, right, because this has to be above. We need to move this up above this other function since we're calling it in that function. Yep, there we go. All right. Out. Let's see. Check out, and we'll check out Rob. Segmentation fault. Okay. So, because we're printing, and it's null. So we are getting null, I think, because that if it's crashing like that, oops, check out. If it's crashing like that, we can even check, I think, and it should print 1 or 0 if it's null. Oh, we want to do printf, not print guest. Just to verify that this is what's happening, what I think is happening. Oops. Okay, and then check out, and then Rob, and 1. So this means that it is null, this hotel occupant. So this is to be expected. And the room number, is it because we need to do room number -1 because we're doing an array access? That makes a lot of, would make sense, I think, because we're storing, like we as humans, we count based on ones or starting at 1, but this is counting starting at 0. So actually, if somebody is in room 1, they should be in spot 0. Oh, and we can see in the check-in function, Rob has already given us the answer. Okay, cool.
I tried to put them right next to each other, so maybe you'd notice, but you just figured it out on your own.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, that's kind of funny. Sorry, I guess you should read the whole code before you get started, but or if it's short enough. All right, let's see if it works. Check out which room. Rob's room. And the guest is checked out. Rob's gone from the hotel. We have evicted Rob. The hotel has a strict no telling other people to debug your programs policy. So awesome. Okay, I think that was all of the errors.
Yep, that was all of them. You got them.
Yes.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thanks for the help with the from everybody from the with the overflow problem. I didn't think of that. Yeah, so that is kind of my thought process when debugging code. I hope that was informative and helpful for you. Are there any, oh, also thank you to Rob for putting in so much effort to write a program and then purposefully break it. Because he put a lot of thought into what kind of bugs he wanted to introduce. And thank you to Harold and Dylan for proofing this program to make sure that it could be debugged in around 30 minutes. Yeah, thank you so much to all of them for their effort in making this cool program to make this workshop. Are there any questions about this? 30 minutes or 6 hours at Dylan. Yeah, I think Dylan spent a while because there were some more like memory allocation errors in the original one. So they had a harder program to debug than me. So
I'll tell you guys one thing though about the integer overflow. I was staring it in the face. I literally said, I saw a negative number. I'm like, oh, that looks like a negative max integer or like the minimum integer. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't even connect that it was integer overflow. I said like, I wonder if this
I was literally sitting in a call with Harold here and he's like, oh, it looks like negative max int. And I was like, oh, he's going to figure it out. And then he continued to sit there and be like, I have no idea why this is.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's how debugging goes, you know, and you just gotta take a break and come back.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly did not think of that as a problem until it was pointed out to me. So it's hard, but this also I think goes to show, excuse me, that even like more experienced people still have these kind of problems with debugging code. And also reading other people's code is probably the most, I was just talking to Rob about this, reading other people's code is probably the most difficult thing to do in computer science, because like you have to figure out what was somebody else's thought process, probably a while ago when they wrote it, and after many Red Bulls possibly, and Rob even gave a lot of great comments. This is really helpful, guys. Comment your code. It's really great when you do. It makes it really much easier for people to read your code afterwards.
Professors will also knock off points if you don't comment your code. Some do. I don't know if all do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna interject here. Feedback. Check the chat. There is a feedback form link. Definitely before you go to sleep tonight, if you would like to give feedback, it is there for this workshop. Also, additionally, like I said, all of our links are always in the link tree. If you want to join the operations team, play a bigger role in Night Hacks, because we want dedicated people on our operations team, that's also on the link tree. That's all I'm going to say.
Awesome.
I just want to take a moment as well to thank Chris for agreeing to do live debugging on a Zoom call. I would totally not ever agree to do this because it is extremely stressful, and sometimes you just run into things you just can't figure out in the moment like that. So great effort from Chris tonight. Thank you. And then we will be back at same time next week for your usual Hello World workshop, and we're going to be kind of recapping what we did over the last semester for anyone who's new, as well as talking about async and JavaScript.
Oh, I'd also like to point out the previous workshops are on the YouTube. So, if you want to kind of get caught up on your own as well, there are several workshops that Rob did from the last semester available on our YouTube for you to get up to speed, or to figure out, like, is this the thing that you want to be a part of? Which the answer is yes, because Rob does a really, really great job. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. We'll be back on Thursday for our regularly scheduled flagship workshop, where we are going to be talking about Flutter. That's very exciting. I've been wanting to learn about Flutter for a while, so I'm really excited to learn about it. And also would like to mention that the projects program, I believe that the applications, if you want to do a project, are closing. Are they closing on Thursday?
Yeah, it's on the 21st, I believe.
Okay, so if you're interested in doing a project, like I said, it's really important for your resume. It's very helpful, and it's very helpful for you to get your first internship. You want to do a project in a group setting with support from all of your friends at Night Hacks, as well as your group members, and Dima and Abe, who run the program. Sign up. The link is on the link tree. Make sure you do that before Thursday so that they can start putting people in groups. They try to do it so that you have a mix of different skill sets, but you also, like, everybody sort of has an idea of how to accomplish the project. So please do sign up for that, as well as the mentorship program. I believe that the application is on the link tree as well. I think that's going to get started very soon. So make sure to, if you're interested in either being a mentor or being mentored, fill out the form so that you can get your assignment. But go ahead, Harold, sorry.
I also put up the career fair and internship fair information on there. You might need to register in with your MyUCF for the internship fair one. It just gives you all the information there. And yeah, this Saturday we're having our Killing the Coding interview.
Yes.
That's also happening. Check out our calendar. If you want like just automatic updates into your Google Calendar, our calendar is on the link tree.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming. It was fun sweating profusely in front of you today.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right. Bye-bye.